Hey gang, welcome back to another shenanigan. I'm Bob and this is the new home of Pardee Shop Shenanigans. You notice the background's a little different than before? There's a reason for that. We've relocated in the last 3 months from the Pacific Northwest, now down to sunny central Arizona. Big changes, great new career opportunity, and meeting new people all along the way. Of course, the challenge is now I've gone from a 950 square foot shop to just under 400 square feet in a 2-car garage. Let's spend the day today to see how we're going to make this work. So we definitely have some challenges here. I have too many projects, although I have divested myself of many for this move. Coming with us, of course, came Stanley, my 62 C20 Chevy utility pickup. I've said that way too many times in all the videos, but in case you're a new watcher to Pardee Shop Shenanigans, we'll look at Stanley in a moment. Also have Papa Smurf, my 89 Jeep Comanche pickup. That's my daily driver now. And the old Dirty Max is parked to the side in retirement until I need it for some heavy lifting. But in the meantime, I've got Christmas coming up and a couple of granddaughters to build some furniture for, maybe for Christmas, and some ideas. So we're going to be switching up into some woodworking here at Pardee Shop Shenanigans. Put on pause a little bit some of the metal fabrication and mechanical stuff. I'll sneak that in anywhere I can. Let's take a look at some of the challenges that I have now downsizing from 950 square feet to just under 400 square feet. Okay, so here's the new pad. There's Papa Smurf hanging out there. Yes, like every Jeep, it's got a little drip there, so I've got that piece of yellow iron to hold my drip pan down. Stanley standing by, waiting for some work. The old Dirty Max did an amazing job. 7,000 miles in a month and a half worth of hauling. Just super impressed with it. Got Mama Bear's Acura. And then we sneak into this space, which is now the new shenanigan space. Let's take a little closer look around. Okay, so this is what we're now working with for space. Your typical 2-car garage in suburbia. I think most of you can probably relate to this pretty well. We've just gotten kind of settled in. And the last couple of days is my first shot to actually take a look at the space I'm working in, start getting some of my tools unloaded, and figure out what I'm going to do in here. Now, if I stand out this way and take a look, we can see that with the garage door up, I don't have very good lighting. For me, lighting is a really big deal, maybe because I'm old. So I've got over here, leaning against the windowsill, I've got some LED lights, 4-footers I picked up at Home Depot a couple years ago. Those are going to go up. Power is another consideration. And so I tried to position the equipment that needs power on the wall that has power, because this wall, there is no power. So I'm going to end up having to run extension cord whenever I'm doing any grinding or anything over here. In the meantime, I am setting up, I think for now, more of a wood shop. So I have my table saw here in the center. I think I might keep this workbench and put it coming off the end of the table saw for outfeed and for workspace. I might sell that and get rid of it. I don't know. I've got to figure out toolboxes. Gosh, I don't know. Welder. I did bring, for my welder, I came right off a 30 amp breaker with this long extension cord, if you will, so I could run my 220 volt 30 amp circuit here. I've got my air compressor plugged into, and I will unplug that and plug in my welder as I need it. I figured that way I didn't need to deal with any electrician or permitting, nothing permanent. It's just coming off of a breaker in the breaker panel around the corner. So here's the space we're looking at. Going to have to figure out what today is going to bring us. You know, one of my big space considerations is what was I going to do with all my tools and specialty sets and wiring kits and whatnot. I went and bought these on sale, these big bins. And then as I packed things up, well, I just got really high tech with, you know, what I put in there, what kinds of tools, what I've got in it. And of course, it's a train wreck to try to find anything right now, because as I pull some of these out, they probably weigh 75 pounds each, and that's not real convenient. I've seen some of the rolling systems that folks have put together in shops where you can slide these into a rack and go 4 or 5 high. That's really nice for lightweight stuff, ornaments and decorations, but definitely not for tools. These two, well, actually all 4 of these were here. This is a rental house, so I want to be respectful of this property because I'm renting it. I don't own it. I can't make permanent changes, but these were already in the garage. So these were already mounted here. These 2 happen to be over here. You can see the outline where they're mounted on that wall. I thought, well, I could make better use of the space by relocating them. And then I'm going to put some things up here on these shelves over time, but I don't want to put my big tools and heavy stuff up there because, well, I'm not sure that's really what they're made for. But I'll be able to thin out some of the herd here with these bins. I'll put some of those away in the shed that's out back, and then I'll just have to rotate some of the tools based on the projects that I'm working on. I do have a couple of dressers here belonging to Mama Bear that I'll be working on a little later today, some new drawer bottoms, and get those taken care of and put in the shop. Put in the house. And then just more tools and things that are just sort of scattered about for now. I think the first thing I'm going to work on is lighting. Now, these 2 lights are set up on a light switch, obviously. I mean, like any garage might have. Now, anybody who's got a temporary situation or something you're looking to do, or a rental, you know, you don't want to necessarily go taking apart somebody else's property and putting in outlets to replace those with. So what I'm going to do instead is, behind here is an outlet that I have covered up. And so what I've done is I've plugged in an extension cord that I'm going to run right up here. And I will probably put in a switch in that extension cord. And with these 4-foot LED shop lights that I've been using for a couple years, pick them up at most any box store. I think I got these at Home Depot on sale for 16 bucks each. What I'll do is I'll bring that extension cord around, put a switch here, plug the first light in, and then I can daisy chain one to the next, 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 right? That way, in this property that I don't own, that I don't want to make a big investment in, or make any big changes for the property owner, I can just plug them in. I can have a switch right here. I'll turn on my ceiling lights when I come out, and then I can walk over and whoop, I can turn on a switch that'll light things up the way it really needs to be. I'll probably show you some details on that in a future video. But for now, I'm going to lower this garage door, do some measuring, figure out where I'm going to lay out my 6 LED lights, and see if we can't brighten this up a bit. Okay, well, I've unbundled my lights. I think I'm going to put up 6 lights in here. That might be too much, but let's just talk this through for a minute. How am I going to hang these lights on an 8-foot ceiling and not have them get in the way of either the garage door as it comes up, or my way if I want to swing a board or pull a vehicle in? Well, there's a couple ways. These usually come with chains and a little hook that you can put on it, but then that's going to hang down from the ceiling a certain distance. Or you see these slots, which are pretty convenient. You can screw them right up to a ceiling or a wall, but how do I get through them, right? So these LEDs, they don't come out like the old T8s and T12s did. This is a, I don't know. It's one package, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with this right here. You'll see that on both ends of this fixture, you will see this area that's slotted. It's got an entry point and a pinch point. And set up the same direction is an entry point and a pinch point. And so I'm just going to take, see if I can get around here. I'm just going to take some simple deck screws that I've got here, and I'm going to put those up in the ceiling like this, right? And then that way, I measured all out careful. This will line up right here, slide into place, and I'm good to go. Got a little trick for keeping them in place I'll show you as well. This way you don't have to disassemble your light. Don't get into taking things apart and fighting everything. That's just silly. I am going to have to go find those screws, but how am I going to line everything up? Well, certainly with a tape measure or just a good old eyeball, you can put screws up there and call it good. But I happen to have a little inexpensive laser here that I can turn on. And then what you'll see there is it'll shine a light up there. And once I find everything where I want it, put it in place, all I have to do is measure, pick a starting point, measure the distance that is equal to the distance between these two slotted points. I'll mark it, I'll put up my screw, and it'll be just as easy as that, right? When is anything ever as easy as that? Okay, got to dive into here and see if I can find my wood screws, and I think it's probably going to be in bolts and miscellaneous. Score, 1.25 inches. Looks like just what I need. Going into 5/8 sheetrock. This will be easy peasy. I think I have just what I need. Okay, so a big consideration for me when I'm setting up lighting for my workspace is where will my workspace be? Okay, so for example, over here I'm going to have my grinder, I'll do some welding, I've got my vise, so I want some good light right overhead that's going to disperse and not be shadowed. That could be tough with this garage door rail here. If I were to put that, see if I can position it, you know, in the perfect world, we'd say let's put it right over the center of this bench, right? But as you can see, that's right where that rail is. So I've decided on coming 11 inches out from the wall is where I'm going to place my first light. And then I haven't decided if I'm going to put probably 1, 2 more here. And then on the other side of the garage, you'll notice that I have a completely different spacing for this rail for the garage door. So we'll get to that part as we come to it. But right now, let's put the first light up and I'll show you what we're going to do. Okay, let's talk a minute about what I did here. So you saw me measuring this distance. I was figuring where I wanted my light to be in relation to my workspace here, right? And so it's mostly centered for what I'm going to be doing here. And you may have seen me then measure from here out, and then I measured from here over. I struggled a little bit because I didn't have a good way to hold my mark here and measure my 47 inches to center here. So that's when I went back and I put the first screw up in the ceiling. Then I could attach my tape measure to that to get my 47 inches. Now it's a bit of a handful when you're trying to line these little slots up, because remember, this is sticking down out of the ceiling, and you're going to want them lined up just so on both ends so I can move it to the end here, right? This is what holds it, not here. So it's got to be slid just that 1/4 of an inch. Well, then the question is once it's in there, how do I keep it in place? Well, I figured I'm already putting just little holes in the sheetrock to begin with. So I put that one screw there that will keep this lamp from sliding out. Now I'll be able to daisy chain my next one in here, and I can set up the rest of the shop and see if we can shed some light on this little topic here, right? I'm not going to bore you with every install. I'm going to do some layout, figure out how I want this to go. I also have to think about how these daisy chain power from one light to another to see where I want to set things up and try to make it the cleanest install possible. So stick around, I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so I've got it all done. I've got the lights in. I ended up putting in, what I put in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 lights. I'd originally planned on 6, but it made a difference. See what you think of this. Can you tell the difference there? Yeah, old guy is going to be able to see now. Let me show you a few things. How's that? Now I still got to tie up these cords, right? Get things like put together and buttoned up so they're not going to be in the way of the garage door opener or anything. But look at this light that I have now. What a difference. Now a little hint is when you're going to be setting up your lights, you'll notice that these are all, they're tied together, daisy chained together. This light goes to here, comes out, goes to here, comes back, goes to here, okay? You can follow the path, how it zigzags all around. A little hint would be is set up all your lights on the floor first. Measure out what it's going to look like. If you have everything set out on the floor first, that's obviously a reflected ceiling plan for those of you who are in construction. I'll shut off my original lights. Now, I put new lights in right next to the original lights for a reason. Number one, I love the complete silence of the LEDs. Can you hear them? Yeah, neither could I. But when I turn on these old Hummers, they take a minute to light up, and they have that buzzing sound, and I just like to be without it. So let's look what this is like. Here's shutting off my original lights. Now I'm going to unplug. It's going to jump, sorry. There we go. And then the original 2 lights that were in here before, they did okay. But when I shut those off, I'm still plugging this in. I don't have a switch set up yet. Look at there. Look at there. Having good light is important. Well, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for joining me here in the new shop, Pardee Shop Shenanigans, now Arizona based. Got some projects that are going to need to take place now that I've got some good light. Stick around, we'll have some fun together. Remember, go out and make somebody smile today, would you? You both deserve it. Bob out.